I gifted a poor family a new house, smiling face with hard eyes. The night I first saw their home, the rain was falling like it had something to prove, hammering the ground with a cruelty that felt personal. The roof of their house sagged under the weight of years, patched with torn plastic sheets and rusted tin, trembling with every gust of wind. A single bulb flickered inside, fighting the darkness like a tired heartbeat. That was the moment something inside me broke quietly and permanently. Some wounds are not visible on people, but on the places they are forced to live. And that night, standing in the mud with water soaking into my shoes, I realized this story would change all of us forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of one decision to change many lives, take a second right now to like this video, share it with someone who believes good still exists, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and helps kindness travel further than we ever could alone. The family lived on the edge of the city, where concrete slowly gives up and turns into broken roads, open drains, and forgotten people. The father was a daily wage laborer, the kind of man who wakes up before sunrise every day not because he is hopeful, but because hunger is punctual. His hands were rough and cracked, permanently stained by cement and dust, carrying the weight of years of work that never seemed to move him forward. The mother carried exhaustion differently. It sat in her eyes, in the way her shoulders curved inward, in how she rationed her energy as carefully as she rationed food. Their children were thin, bright-eyed, and far too familiar with disappointment for their age. The house itself was less of a shelter and more of a fragile agreement between the family and the weather, an agreement the weather broke often. Every monsoon, water leaked in through the roof, turning the floor into a shallow pool. The children slept huddled together on a single raised cot, while the parents took turns staying awake to move pots under the leaks. Summers were worse in a different way. The heat trapped itself inside the tin walls, turning the room into an oven where breathing felt like work. Winters brought cold winds that slipped through cracks in the walls, reminding them that privacy, comfort, and safety were luxuries they had never known. And yet, every morning, they cleaned the space carefully, sweeping mud back out, arranging their few belongings with dignity, as if refusing to let poverty steal their self-respect. I did not come into their lives as a hero. I came as a visitor, someone filming acts of kindness, someone who had already seen hardship but had the privilege of walking away from it. At first, I thought I would help them with groceries, maybe school supplies for the children, perhaps some money for repairs. Those were the kinds of help that felt manageable, safe, and temporary. But as days passed and I kept returning, I realized how shallow those solutions were. Food runs out. Repairs fail. Money disappears into emergencies. The real problem was not that they lacked things, it was that they lacked stability. They lived every day one accident away from disaster. One illness. One missed day of work. One heavy storm. The turning point came when the youngest child fell sick during a particularly bad rainstorm. The house flooded ankle-deep overnight, soaking bedding, clothes, and school books. The child lay shivering on the cot, feverish and weak, while the parents stood helpless, unable to afford a doctor until morning. Watching them, I felt an uncomfortable truth settle in my chest. This family was not unlucky. They were trapped. And traps do not open with small gestures. They open with bold, terrifying decisions. The idea of gifting them a new house felt impossible the moment it formed. I was not a millionaire philanthropist. I was someone with resources, yes, but also responsibilities, fears, and limits. My mind filled with doubts. What if it failed? What if people accused me of faking it? What if the money ran out halfway? What if the family could not adjust to a new life? But every doubt was answered by the same image, that leaking roof, that sick child, that tired light bulb flickering in the dark. Fear began to feel like a selfish excuse. The process was anything but cinematic. It was slow, stressful, and full of setbacks. Finding land that was legal, safe, and affordable took months. Paperwork moved at the speed of indifference. Contractors made promises they did not keep. Budgets stretched thin, then thinner. Some nights I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if I had made a mistake, calculating costs again and again, feeling the weight of responsibility press down on my chest. It would have been easier to stop, to downscale, to call it enough. But every time I visited the family, every time I saw the children doing homework under that flickering bulb, I knew there was no turning back. Construction began quietly. Brick by brick, the house rose from bare ground into something solid and undeniable. Strong walls replaced plastic sheets. A real roof replaced rusted tin. Windows were cut into the walls, allowing sunlight to enter freely for the first time in the family's life. The children visited the site often, standing at a distance, watching in silence, their excitement too fragile to trust yet. The parents rarely spoke about it. Hope, when you have been disappointed too many times, becomes something you guard carefully, like a secret. As the house neared completion, the emotional weight grew heavier. This was no longer just a building. It was the physical shape of a promise. It was safety during storms, quiet during sleep, dignity during hardship. It was a future that did not collapse every monsoon. The day we installed the front door, I stood alone inside the empty house for a long time. The rooms echoed softly, clean and bright. I imagined laughter bouncing off the walls, school bags dropped on the floor, the smell of cooked food filling the air. I imagined arguments, celebrations, ordinary days. A life not defined by survival, but by living. The reveal day arrived without drama. No crowds. No loud music. Just the family, standing in front of a house they did not yet believe was theirs. When they stepped inside, something shifted in the air. The mother ran her hand along the wall, as if checking whether it was real. The father stood still, eyes glistening, shoulders shaking slightly as years of buried emotion finally found space to breathe. The children ran from room to room, their laughter filling the space, loud and unrestrained, as if the walls themselves were inviting it. What struck me most was not the excitement, but the silence that followed. A deep, peaceful silence. The kind that comes when fear loosens its grip. For the first time, they were not thinking about rain, or rent, or repairs. They were thinking about tomorrow without dread. That is what a home does. It does not just shelter bodies. It shelters dreams. Life did not magically become perfect after that day. The father still worked long hours. The mother still worried about expenses. The children still faced challenges at school. But the ground beneath them no longer shifted constantly. When it rained, they slept through the night. When someone fell sick, they rested in warmth. When the children studied, they did so under steady light. Stability, I learned, is the foundation on which every other improvement is built. Watching this family slowly grow into their new life changed me as much as it changed them. It taught me that kindness is not about feeling good, it is about doing what scares you because someone else needs it more. It taught me that dignity is one of the most powerful gifts you can give. And it reminded me that we do not need to save the world to make a difference. We only need to change one world at a time. Before we reach the ending, I want to ask you something special. Please comment the word home below if you believe everyone deserves a safe place to sleep. Your comments mean more than you know, and I read every single one. As I left their new house that day, the sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the walls. The light no longer flickered. It stayed. And in that steady glow, I saw something rare and beautiful, relief. The kind that settles deep in the bones. The kind that allows people to plan, to dream, to breathe. That house was not just concrete and paint. It was proof that compassion, when acted upon, can interrupt cycles of suffering. If this story touched your heart even a little, if it made you feel hopeful or emotional, please like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach more people and turns kindness into a chain reaction. Together, we can keep proving that humanity is not lost. Sometimes, it just needs a new foundation to stand on.